Now, we mentioned this at the top of the show. MLS suspending the season until May the 10th. Here's just part of the statement. MLS remains focused on playing the entire 2020 season and is evaluating all options, including pushing back the end of the season and playing MLS Cup in December. Taylor Twellman is with us. Before we talk about the big picture, T, let's talk about that date, shall we? May the 10th. How realistic is that?
Oh boy, I don't know. Obviously, this is above my pay grade, Dan. This depends on what society does and paying attention to what the guidelines are. But I do think there is a realistic option there in the sense that maybe the first 4 or 5 games are behind closed doors. Maybe the first 4 or 5 games are in unique circumstances in cities that maybe aren't completely under quarantine, for lack of a better word there or phrase. But the truth of the matter is they're following the CDC guidelines. They're doing the best they can. But right now, 8 weeks from now, I think it's a fairly good shot that we may see Major League Soccer back on the field.
Say that doesn't transpire. Say it's delayed until, say, July. How is that going to work logistically, trying to get that all done? Because there are so many things to contemplate, the weather, the fixtures, just trying to get this all to work.
It's an interesting question, Dan. And I've said this on a couple of the SportsCenter shows over the last, I'd say, week or so. And I'll reiterate, listen, if it does end up going to June 15th or that matter, Major League Soccer may have a unique opportunity to align themselves with the Western Europe schedule, for lack of a better phrase, right? Because we know South America plays on the schedule similar to Major League Soccer, and League MX does what they want. But the truth of the matter is they may be able to align themselves if you have a winter break. Listen, what an awful situation to be in, but it's almost weird to say that's awful when we're talking about life or death here. But I don't think it's necessarily an awful thing for the league if it comes June 15th and they haven't played any league games, that they all of a sudden turn the corner and say, well, wait a minute here. Maybe this is the opportunity where we align ourselves with that schedule where Western Europe's playing on it with a winter break, maybe like a Germany or Scandinavia. And ultimately, it puts yourself in a pretty good spot when you're talking about your playoffs and your MLS Cup. Being around Memorial Day, there's nothing else really going on there other than the NBA playoffs. And that puts yourself in a better spot than maybe playing your biggest games against the NFL season.
Meanwhile, as a former player, and of course you're friends with a lot of players who are still plying their trade in MLS, how is it day to day trying to keep your fitness levels up, not knowing really where the end of the road is?
I'd argue you and I are probably more fit than them, chasing our kids around and doing what we've got to do at home, Dan. I don't know, and that's where this gets really tricky when you're talking to technical staffs, coaches, general managers. And listen, no one's complaining for that matter, but it's just this conversation of what you do. Listen, players, fitness-wise, they can stay fit. They can go for runs. They can practice social distancing and still try to keep their fitness, but there's nothing like playing games. There's nothing like playing in training and whatnot. So let's say May 10th happens. How quickly do they get together and train? And do you really argue that, well, you know what, if you only get a week of training and games kick up, well, then the real quality is not going to really happen until June, Dan, because those guys need to get 3 or 4 games under their belt. That's where this becomes a very tricky situation. And that's the same conversation in the NBA and the same one in the NHL, because they're getting into their playoff season. Major League Soccer is going to have a tricky one. I just think players are going to stay in shape on their own, but to try to compare that to playing games, that's an apples oranges kind of conversation.
So you mentioned it earlier, obviously soccer completely insignificant at the moment compared to what's going on around the world, but that doesn't stop us missing it day to day.
No.
For you, like, what are you missing the most from it all?
Oh, Dan, I just love the 4 a.m. text messages, phone calls from those coaches, general managers upset about something I said. There's a part of that I really, really miss. Now, a lot of it, I'm like, what do you really care what I say? But the truth of the matter is that's when you know you're in the thick of it. That's when you know the season's going on. Dan, I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of miss being berated by coaches and general managers right now.
Yeah, compared to being berated by your young children, I imagine that's an absolute cakewalk.
That's why I'm still wearing the same sweater. I haven't taken this sweater off in 6 days.
Hey, well, thank you very much for joining us, Taylor. Of course, stay safe and best wishes to your family.
You too, dude.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.